Hello everybody, my name is Rachel and welcome to my weekly wrap-up of March 22nd, 2015. First order of business is to say thank you to Lindsay Ray for shouting me out in her weekly wrap-up video this morning. I woke up at 7:30 this morning and was like, my email's blowing up. Why is my email blowing up? And thank you to everyone who has subscribed to me this morning. Welcome to my channel and the stuff I talk about, say hi in the comments down below if you want to. And now I think it's time to talk about the books that I read this week. The first book that I finished this week was Peace Like a River by Leif Enger. This has been a long-running buddy read with my friend Rachel. We've been reading this for close to a month. Life happened on both of our ends, so we didn't get through it as quickly as we thought we were going to. It is about a single father raising his 3 children in 1960s Minnesota. His eldest son is arrested for what may have been self-defense or premeditated murder, and then his son escapes prison and the family picks themselves up, packs their stuff into an Airstream, and takes off after him, which is kind of odd considering they don't actually know where he's gone, and the FBI are also after him because he's crossed state lines. This is very much supposed to be a book about family and religion, I believe. The father in the story performs miracles, and the narrator is his 11-year-old son, his middle child, named Reuben, who is the only person who apparently witnesses the miracles that his father does and recognizes them as miracles. This book was very interesting up until the halfway point. When the family finally packs up and goes after the eldest son, after Davy, it just starts to fall apart. The plot just, my friend and I were both just in the same boat going, what is the point of this? There's amazing characterization in the story. It is very well written. There are just these beautiful descriptive passages. Enger somehow manages to make the harsh winter of Minnesota sound like a beautiful place, actually. And the characters are what you should read this book for if you're interested, especially the youngest child, Swede. She's a budding writer, and she writes this long-running, epic, rhyming poem about outlaws. It is so fun to read that bit. But the story itself and the conclusion fell really flat for me. I just didn't see what the point of the book was supposed to be. If there's some sort of overall message, I didn't get it. The second book that I finished was The Just City by Joe Walton. I did an entire full review on this, which I will link down below, so I won't repeat myself. I loved this book. It is based on Plato's The Republic, about creating a city that would actually prove whether his republic could work or not, and I loved it. The writing was so much better than her last book. I love the premise, really enjoyed the characters, and despite some parts that made me rather uncomfortable, I gave this book 5 stars, and I'm really looking forward to the sequel, which comes out at the end of June. The third book that I finished was As Chimney Sweepers Come to Dust by Alan Bradley. This is the 7th book in the Flavia de Luce mystery series. Obviously, I can't talk about the plot very much because I would spoil the 6th book and this book for you. I think some of my friends here on BookTube are reading the series, and I seriously don't want to spoil anything for you. The 6th book, The Dead in Their Vaulted Arches, was supposed to be the final book in the series. Bradley had a contract for 6 books, and then it was extended to 10 books. I'm almost certain because the mini-series adaptation is going to have 10 episodes. That's what I've heard. So the 6th book definitely has hallmarks and signs that it was supposed to be the last book, and then there's this final twist thrown in there to make the series continue. I did not like the implications of that twist at the end of book 6, and so I really was looking forward to this book to see how Bradley was going to handle that. And it was so much better than I thought it was going to be. I enjoy the series very much because of the cast of secondary characters and its setting, which is 1950s kind of rural England with the, all the people who live in the village and the local detective and his wife and everything. And of course, Flavia, the main character, she's now 12. She's a sleuth likes to help detectives solve mysteries. She loves dead bodies and she loves chemistry. So if you've read the 6th book and you know what the twist is at the end, you'll know you might also be thinking, is the magic of this series going to disappear in the last couple of books? And I don't think so. Without giving away too much, this is a very solid but not fantastic installment in the series. Flavia is definitely out of her element in this book. She's just surrounded by new things, new people, and you can tell, in a way, I think it's almost a metaphor for growing up. She's not 11 anymore, she's 12, she's almost a teenager. She's really starting to view things differently. I especially think it's very interesting how fondly she's thinking of things like her father, her sisters in this book, whereas the books where they are there all the time, she's constantly fighting with them. So it was decent. Flavia's still a great character. The murder mystery was okay. But what made this a 4-star book for me rather than just a pretty, okay, it's good, 3 stars, was that the ending promises that we shall probably get back to the setting that I enjoy so much. So hopefully that wasn't too spoilery for you guys, but it is really hard to talk about the 7th book out of 10. The next book that I finished was Karen Memory by Elizabeth Bear. I read this as a buddy read with Paul from A Common Touch of Fantasy and Tara from Terabyte. It's primarily set in a higher class bordello in Rapid City in Lake California during the Alaskan Gold Rush in the 1880s. This is an alternate history. And almost all of the characters are women who are prostitutes or ex-prostitutes. And our main character is Karen. She's 16. She's a prostitute, a working girl at Madame Damnable's. And one day, a Chinese woman who's been shot brings in an Indian girl, an Asian Indian girl, not a Native American Indian girl, to Madame Damnable's seeking assistance. And this gets Karen and everyone at Damnable's involved in a political evil villain plot where they live. It is not the best plotted adventure story. The action sequences are not Bear's strength. I think that her writing strength is really characters, and it is a testament to Bear's skill in that area. I think that this is a book about prostitutes that are not defined by their job. She doesn't, fall into the trap of cliches about whores, and all of the characters are diverse. They have their own personalities, and there are a lot of friendships between women, not like love relationships, not, like catfighting, but real, genuine friendships between these women, which it seems to be so rare to actually read about. It is not the best book in the world, but it is a fun read, and if you want something that really showcases Elizabeth Bear's talents in writing, I would say start with the Eternal Sky trilogy. It is slower paced, but I think that's what Elizabeth Bear does best, rather than the kind of hectic action adventure in a fluffy steampunk novel. The next book that I finished was the 4th book in the Amber Chronicles, The Hand of Oberon. I finished the 3rd book last week, and I was talking about how the 3rd book, A Sign of the Unicorn, was really where the main character, Corwin, is sitting down with his family members and getting answers about all the stuff that happened in the first couple of books. And the 4th book, The Hand of Oberon, is a direct continuation of that. I'm going to have a spoilery review of books 3 and 4 up sometime this coming week, and I will talk about it in more depth then. The second to last book that I finished this week was Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. You probably can't see the cover very well because it's super beat up and the light is shining, so I'm just going to put this down at this point. Mrs. Dalloway is written in stream of consciousness style. I've never read a book like this before, and it worked and it didn't work for me. I'm not really sure about the story itself. I think it's going to take a while to sink in. The story, of course, is about, it all takes place in one day. Mrs. Dalloway, who's recently recovered from an illness, is getting ready to give a party. And throughout the course of the day, some people from long ago in her life reappear, and the stream of consciousness style lets you jump from mind to mind. You know, you get her perspective, then you suddenly jump to Peter's and then to Richard's, and then there's another couple that kind of intersect with their lives, a man named Septimus Smith and his wife. And Septimus is mentally ill and threatening to commit suicide, and all of this interconnects over the course of one day. And that was really interesting. The style that this is written in made it a bit confusing sometimes to figure out whose head you're in, whose voice you're listening to. It's so effective though at showing you the connections between these people in just a single day. That was really interesting to read. It's also a style that doesn't have a lot of breaks in it. There are only like 2, 3, 4 natural breaks in the entire book where there's like a break on the page. So it's really easy to just read the entire thing all in one sitting. I tried to drag it out a bit, but I wanted to know. It's very short, and I wanted to know how it was all going to end up, especially with Septimus's storyline about his mental illness, how that's going to affect Clarissa Dalloway's party. It's supposed to be, from what I have read, a closer look at like post-World War I England and people's attitudes and so on. There are veterans in this book. There's a lot in there about attitudes towards mental illness. So I enjoyed it from an educational perspective. Honestly, this is the first Virginia Woolf I've ever read, and it was a pretty good experience. I really want to read A Room of One's Own. My library doesn't have it, so I may pick up To the Lighthouse next. I would really like to read something by her that's not in stream of consciousness, just because. I'm not sure that that's a writing style that I really enjoy reading. The final thing that I read this week is Borders of Infinity by Lois and McMaster Bujold. I treated myself to all of the Nesfa hardback editions that are currently out of the Vorkosigan saga. They are lovely. And this one is not actually a novel. It is a collection of 3 novellas in the series with a very short framework story to hold them all together. I have already read all the novellas, so last night I read the framework story and kind of skimmed through the novellas, and then I removed the novellas from my read list on Goodreads and just replaced it with this one book yesterday. Bujold is fantastic. I have a stack of books sitting on my nightstand that I want to start or finish this upcoming week, and I don't want to put too much pressure on myself. I usually don't like to make TBRs, but I'm like, I really need to read these books now, and I will let you know more about that in a Friday Reads video or in my next weekly wrap-up. So until then, thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you to all of my new subscribers for subscribing to me, and I will talk to you guys again in my next video. Bye.